time that we were
I
recording
boomed
together.
it during the match.
Gabe, do you even have like a smartphone?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking to you on right now. And I've seen all the advertisements for Boom Beach.
I feel like I feel like when I met you, you didn't have a smartphone, and you kind of made
That's
a
right, I
point of
didn't.
it. That was like 2 years ago or something, right?
I probably would have stuck with that phone, that phone you called a drug dealer phone, but
Burner phone?
but it was.
That's what I did. I did say that.
You did. But the fucking thing was breaking in half. I couldn't. I had to get a new phone. There was no choice. So
Yeah. Do you?
I was like, now that I have it, I really like the fancy phone. It's nice.
It's not fancy. It is just a phone now. Like,
Yeah, that's true.
it's 2015. That is not a fancy phone.
It's just a
Fancy
phone.
would like give blowjobs or something. Something cool I don't even know about. Like a regular phone, like surfing the internet and taking pictures of shit and posting it immediately to wherever you want. Like that is just a phone. Believe it or not. But you're like a car with electric windows. Like I don't have a fancy car like that. You know, that's not the reality.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. Anyway, welcome to the Practical Pistol Show. As you can tell, it's me. It's Grandmaster Hopkins, and Master with Limited Minor from Concealed Carry. So basically, like Super Grandmaster Gabe. Tactical Gabe is here.
Hey, what's up?
So Gabe, we need to know what's going on in the tactical community for shooting stuff. Obviously, Fire Clean is the new shizzle.
I'm so far behind. I got like caught up on that saga today.
I didn't really read any of the saga. I just kind of read the highlights of it. And it's kind of like I can't say I'm surprised by any of that shit.
Me either. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
How's your shooting been, Gabe?
It's been all right. I've been taking a little bit of a break. All my big matches were done for the year, and had some ups, some downs, but at least I ended on a good note and dominated a GSSF match. I'm sure you'll get a good laugh out of that.
It is GSSF to get paid, baby. That's how
right.
you do it.
That's right. And
did you
then, get paid? Oh yeah.
What'd you get paid?
They changed the rules, and now I get paid less because they distribute the prizes differently. But this one was a pistol certificate and a couple $100.
That's not bad. Was it pretty local?
Yeah, I pretty much just shoot the local ones. If I had to go real far, I don't think it would really be worth it. But. So
no travel expenses. You get a gun cert and some cash.
Yeah.
That's not too bad.
Yep, exactly. So anyway, I've been taking a break because I've been trying to take this whole off-season thing more seriously because I get really tired and fatigued about halfway through the major match season. Like I think I peak about May, and then I just get more and more tired from there because everything is all busy all at the same time, the match season and training and work and all of it. So
yeah,
I need to figure that out a little better.
I just went into my off season. It's excellent.
Did you? Cool.
Yeah. It's September 15th as we record this, and I don't have a major match for a while, which is cool.
Yeah. Cool.
That's nice. Hopkins.
I got like 5 more majors this year.
You're fucking crazy, dude. You are out of your mind. You've been on the road like every single week for a while, right?
I've had like 6 weekends off this year.
Oh my god. Oh, okay.
I'm used to it though.
You are used to it.
Yeah.
All right, Gabe. So today's discussion topic: shooting on the move. So you recently got involved in a conversation, or in a competitive shooting sense, not like face shooting on the move, but for competitive shooting, shooting on the move, when to do it, when not to do it, how hard a target should you do it. So why don't you tell us the theory that you were introduced to?
Well, sure. So the idea under discussion was that shooting on the move was basically always better, even to the point that if it was on a hard enough target or array of targets that you had to slow the movement to nearly nothing, that moving even a little bit was considered better than shooting standing still and then moving faster and then shooting standing still. which was a surprising idea to me because I've heard it asserted a number of times that a lot of times shooting on the move is not a good deal, and you're better served by stand still, shoot the hard targets, run, then shoot some more targets.
What does your intuition tell you?
My intuition tells me that I tend to think that it is going to be better to, when the targets are hard enough, just do the shooting standing still, move as fast as you can, and then go on to do whatever else you're going to do.
What does your test data from the practice range tell you?
I don't think that I have tested that in any objective way in so long that I don't think I could even tell you. And in fact, I may have never tested that specific thing. I've certainly messed around with shooting pretty long target, like 25-yard targets on the move, but that's where I just kind of intuitively, subjectively arrive at the conclusion that, I mean, I know how slow it makes me have to move, and it does make the shooting harder, that it doesn't feel like a good deal to me.
All right, Hopkins, you up to speed on this?
Yeah, I'm balling.
All right, you're balling out of control. So what do you think, man? So how do you determine when to shoot on the move? What do you think of the idea is like, hey, if you can do it, do it. What do you think of that?
Man, in everything I've done is you're going to get way better points not shooting it on the move.
Hey, I just want to say, Hopkins, I think this actually matters. In my opinion, you are particularly strong at shooting on the move.
Yeah, I can do it. I honestly think you get way worse points shooting on the move, and I don't think you save any time doing it. Because the points you drop shooting on the move is going to be negate the time saving, probably make it negative.
And you have a real high disaster factor, right? Because that's a great, if you try tough enough targets, a great way to, hit no shoots or mics or something.
I think it's completely crazy to try anything that's any difficult of a shot,
Like 25 yards?
That's fucking stupid. I'd never even try that. I mean, flat out, I wouldn't even test that thing. It wouldn't make sense.
Well, I have a hard
enough time hitting the 25-yard shots as is. I don't need to be putting movement involved in that shit. But I do want to hear somebody that's actually tested it. So go.
I have tested shooting on the move at 25 yards. In a low-pressure practice environment, it's like, yeah, I can do it. When you start shooting on the move, it starts turning into kind of a crapshoot, because the shooting does get harder, and if your foot hits the ground at the wrong time or something, your sights bounce around a little bit, you end up dropping a ton of points. One thing I think for all of us on this podcast is that we shoot minor, and to me, shooting on the move with minor, it's kind of like if the targets are close enough that I feel like I can shoot alphas, not mostly alphas, but I can just drive alphas on those things while I move. It tends to work out. But that ends up being pretty close, right, guys? 10 yards is,
It's probably the max I would maybe even try it, and it wouldn't be on a classic.
Yeah, 10 yards on a classic. The A-zone's quite a bit different shaped and smaller, so it ends up being kind of tough. And in me testing it, I feel like you don't save as much time as you think. And then especially when you, depending on your temperament, when you start doing it in a match, I feel like all of us are guys that want to hit the target first, right? We want to be accurate. Yeah. So in a match, I feel like I shoot more carefully, which I might have this idea in my head in a match where it's like I want to, shoot on the move through this, or I'll whack this target coming in, but then my desire to hit the target is so much that I end up being slower than I might think. There are times to shoot on the move, certainly, but it's one of those things that I think so many people overvalue so much, where it's kind of like, yeah, you can do it, but then you'll try it on a timer and it's like, hey, this isn't any faster. Or, especially, Gabe, especially to your point where it's like, even if you can just do it a little bit, I feel like if you're going to shoot on the move, you better be making some movement. You better be going somewhere in a hurry. Because that's when it really pays off. When you're just standing there shuffle stepping, that's something I do not see pay off for people. And I've actually tested it with scoring and stuff. I mean, even shooting major, it doesn't usually pay off that much. Yeah, so I think the question is, like, for a guy like you, Gabe, what the question is, how do you know when you should shoot on the move? Right?
Yeah.
I see your match videos. You shoot on the move quite a lot, don't you?
I love to shoot on the move. It's just generically speaking, not necessarily in USPSA competition. I love shooting on the move. I love practicing shooting on the move, and that's something I have done a lot of. But the kind of shooting on the move that I've practiced is with a pretty, relatively speaking, a pretty extreme degree of movement and a pretty hard targets, relatively speaking. So I end up firing. It ends up taking long enough to aim the shots and fire the shots accurately that in the kind of distance that I'm normally presented with in USPSA, where I even have the chance to shoot on the move, there's usually a small enough distance, but enough targets and enough shooting that it really cuts down on the speed I can move. Like, I can't move and shoot the way I would like to because I would run out of distance before I get all the shooting done. So it ends up being a different thing for me in competitive shooting. But I definitely like to shoot on the move wherever I can. And my gut is that, out 12, 15 yards, I would attempt it if it's a wide open target. But in practical application, I'm sure I end up dialing it back to more like what you guys are saying, like 10 yards and closer, just because I feel like I feel that kind of nagging in the back of my mind of, like, if I shoot that target 15 yards with a decent rate of movement, I'm really gambling on some points there. I am. And compared to just plant, take the shots, and then move faster, because then if I'm not shooting, I'll be able to move faster. I don't know that it's a good deal a lot of the time.
Yeah, there are times to take a calculated risk on shooting on the move on like a 15-yard target, like you're saying. I can think of a few stages that I've shot in the last few years where it's like there is one target, that's at that sort of distance, right? Like maybe 15 yards, and all the guys I'm competing against post up, stop, to shoot 2 controlled shots on it, and then take off again. And it's kind of like, it's just one target, and if I can cut a stop out of there, maybe chance dropping some points, but I can cut a stop out. That seems like a good deal. But then if there's like 3 or 4 targets there, it's like, man, shooting 3 or 4 targets on the move, I'm still only cutting out 1 stop, but now I'm risking dropping points on a bunch of targets. You know what I mean?
That is exactly it. That's a good description of what I think I see.
I'll be honest about this. I think for guys who try it, for people who practice shooting on the move at various distances and shooting a lot of different type of targets, I feel like your gut's a really good guide. If you walk up and you watch and you look at something, you're like, oh boy, like, I don't like the look of this. Like, I don't want to shoot this on the move. That's crazy. That you tend to know yourself. You're like, I can't do that. Like, I don't feel comfortable with that. I don't want to do it. Yet that tends to be accurate. You agree with that, Hopkins? I imagine.
Yeah, I'll get sucked into doing it sometimes, which I know is a mistake. Like, just this last match, I did one thing. It actually cost me a little time, I think, because the targets were at the distance where you can't shoot fast enough, and I had to slow down my movement.
Where was this? What stage?
Stage 3.
Oh.
The left targets.
Oh, yeah. So that was classic targets at like 15 yards.
Yeah.
And the way the stage was built, you had plenty of space to move, right?
Yeah.
You had ground to cover, and even then, like 15 yards on classics, and you're like, it didn't end up paying off for you.
No, it didn't. I dropped a lot of points on it, and I think it did slow me down in the end. Like, I just hung the last 2 on the ground. It was not good.
But that's another thing where major the math ends up working out a little differently.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Or if you have an open gun, it ends up, the dot makes a kind of a difference. It's easy to see what's happening. But then that's still, when I say, like, let your gut be your guide, I think that's true. Gut's going to tell you, like, you know yourself, you know your skills, and if you don't feel comfortable making a shot, you're not going to be able to do it under pressure, moving.
I think that's very true, Ben. I think that it's two things. It's one, whatever calculation is going on between, your skill level, the target that's presented, the distance it's presented at, which they're going to have different presentations, different amounts of the target available, different distances. That it just fundamentally comes down to a gut calculation. I don't think there's any hard and fast rule or equation or anything. I don't think there's any way to figure it out apart from an intuitive, a subjective sense of I feel like I can do it or I can't. And the confidence issue is a big part of that as well. I mean, that really turns into a big problem. I mean, make somebody shoot a shot on the move that they're not confident with. I think that is probably going to go a lot worse than if you have another person shoot that same shot that they feel more confident in. I think you need to do stuff that you have confidence in so that you can act with a precise, controlled aggressiveness and attack the stage and go get it done, and get it done the way that you know how, so that you can just flow through it like a little wave.
Yeah, because you got to remember a match. You want to shoot a bunch of good stages, Yeah. They don't have to be great. You just got to be good. You got to be okay. You just got to cruise through there, and your decision to shoot on the move or not is rarely would the match hinge on that. Yeah. But if you make a bad decision and fuck something up, that could be your match. That could be it.
Yep. I've done that. I've elected to take a shot on the move on a target that had some hard cover on it, and planted a mic, lost I don't know, one place out of it or something.
Yeah, and that's where, I mean, so your gut could be one thing, but also you could take a math risk and look at that and be like, hey, that target's hard, that target's high risk. I have the ammo at that point in the stage. I'm going to make a decision. I'm going to shoot 3 aim shots at it instead of just 2 or something.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that can end up working out better for you. But that's when you have to be kind of thinking, using your brain a little bit. Like, I'm going to take this risk and I want to try and make it less of a risk, something like that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good discussion about when to shoot on the move, and I would say that I want to reiterate. I feel like it's really overvalued by a lot of people. If you're thinking like I want to do it whenever I can, probably doing it too much. Yeah.
That was exactly the way I thought when I started shooting USPSA, because I had done lots of shooting on the move outside of it and really liked it, and so I was like, all right, I'm going to use my skills. I'm going to shoot all this stuff on the move, and it didn't work out very well.
Yeah. All right, guys, let's move on to a shooting question. I know you guys love those, and Gabe, this will be right up your alley. Oh, so this is a really long email. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but It's seriously, it's like 12 paragraphs, but I'll pick a couple. You'll get the gist of it. This guy's only been shooting for a year, but from personal experience, he's developed a pretty strong opinion on this topic, and he thinks it'd be interesting discussion to hear on the podcast. I think the vast majority of non-pro, non-sponsored USPSA shooters who sincerely want to improve their skills would see a huge benefit from shooting far, far fewer matches and replacing the matches with private practice sessions. The reason he leaves out pros and sponsored shooters is because they are likely obligated to shoot a high amount of matches and can't cut back as easily. All right, match experience only makes up a tiny part of your overall ability, admittedly. It does help new and inexperienced shooters learn stage planning and adapting to different target arrays and stage designs, but beyond that, there aren't many benefits. Once you've shot the match a few times at your local clubs, you'll have gotten used to the flow and logistics of the match, and you'll have seen most of the creative things they'll throw at you. From there, it's all about raw shooting ability. So everyone who truly wants to get better, especially those with limited budget and limited time, stop shooting matches, spend that time and money on a practice session and practice ammo. Set goals, form good habits, learn through repetition, isolate skills, and work on them separately. He says use the match as an occasional test to see where you are and what direction you need to take your training. The exception, of course, I think this is for you, Gabe, is if you're shooting GSSF to get paid. And I swear to God, that's in there. Perfect
that's
for you.
That's great. Yeah, great. Yeah.
So, what do you think, Gabe?
Well, first of all, I think if you're getting paid at GSSF, you need to shoot as many of them as is practical.
That's what he's saying.
But to his question, because it's about USPSA, my feeling is that the answer to this changes over time, and so even now, honestly, even now, after, I don't shoot a lot of USPSA matches, but I have now shot them for a few years. And even now, I think I benefit from gaining match experience. I think for a while, at least. I don't know how long that is. Maybe it's different for different people, but for a while, I think it is really helpful to your placement, your performance in USPSA, and your ability to shoot under pressure. Even more generally speaking, I think that you're well served by participating in actual matches, getting some exposure to that competitive pressure, that self-induced pressure, and also if your match placement is suffering from making bonehead errors because you're really bad at managing USPSA stages and shooting them reasonably well, you can probably make up a lot of placement if you get that at least a little bit squared away. That's kind of what I did. I don't think I'm real great at breaking down and executing USPSA stages, but I'm a hell of a lot better than when I first started, and if I were still there, I would be having a lot harder time with it. And I don't think it takes a lot of attention and experience to get better at it, but I think you've got to put in at least some amount of time with that.
Okay, so would you agree with the core thrust of it is that USPSA shooters, a lot of them, would benefit from shooting fewer matches? Would you say, like, when you walk out there, the regular fucking dude, does he shoot too many matches and he needs to practice some? He needs to, like, whatever resources he's got, do you think he's better served practicing more and matching it up less, or not?
I'm sure there are a whole bunch of people who that is absolutely the case for. I don't have a real great sense of everybody at USPSA and how much they practice versus how many matches they shoot. But I'm sure I know there are a bunch of people that just shoot matches and that's all they do, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of those people. A lot.
I'm sure they would benefit from can a couple of those matches and go practice some. I'm sure that would help.
All right, Hopkins, what's your take on this?
Once you get to a certain level, you don't need to shoot as many matches to know what's going on. But the one big thing he didn't talk about in that was stage breakdown. I know for a fact after I was shooting for a year, I didn't have a clue. I didn't have, like, the be-all, end-all of stage breakdown. Like, that takes a while to learn. And to like, dope the stages out to which is correct, which I'm still working on.
How long have you been shooting USPSA, Matt?
8 years.
Okay.
And I shoot a lot of matches.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got 6 weekends off this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I think that's a key thing that, like, the emailer didn't talk about.
Well, let's relate this to the guys at your club. Would they benefit from less matches and more practice in general?
Yes.
Yeah, because most of them don't practice, right?
Well, that is their practice. Like, the matches.
Jesus.
Yeah, but those dudes aren't. That's all they're in it for. Like, they're in it for fun. They're not trying to compete on a national level.
Right, exactly.
So, like, it goes into that point where, like, if the dude is just wanting to go out there and have fun on the weekends, who cares if he should go practice more? Like, that's what he wants to do. So it's not like he's being mad at himself for not winning fucking nationals or something.
I think that's probably pretty common.
Gets sorted out.
I think that's probably pretty common. I think that's probably pretty common, and including in other sports. I mean, I used to play paintball a little bit, and that was a lot the same thing. There's lots and lots of people, and I was one of them who just go play paintball. That's what you're doing. You just want to go play it. And people who are really serious about, like, winning at it in competitive paintball, that was a different thing. And the people who were really serious about it would have to, like, go practice, and it was all weird. Because they'd spend all this money on paintballs, and they'd go, like, shoot them at a milk jug hanging from a tree while running around and stuff, and actually, like, work on having better skills. But to the casual person who just wants to go participate in the activity because it is inherently fun, which USPSA is for anybody who likes to shoot a handgun and run around, then That's the reward, that's the benefit, that's the goal, and it's automatically met by participating. So you go do that.
It's so true.
It is.
I mean, what this is like, I agree with this guy, but I'm not the one. Like, to me, it's not. It's the fun part about the sport is the practice part. That's always been me. I have a truck full of shooting props and ammo, and I love to go drive that to the range and shoot stuff and practice. And the matches give me something to direct the practice towards. I'm not just out there fucking around. I'm actually improving my skills, and that's always been the attraction for me. And then, so for somebody like me, when I show up at matches, it's kind of like, yeah, most of these guys don't put any work into it. Yeah, obviously, that's true. Would the average USPSA member be served better by, like skipping some matches and practicing? Absolutely. Yeah, you do need some competition experience. Like I said, I didn't read you the whole email because it was too crazy. It was too much. But he gave the number. He shoots maybe one match a month if you're practicing live and dry fire every week. Otherwise, a match every 2 months. And for me, I shot my first few years before I was shooting a ton of big matches. And even now that I do shoot, big matches, I always liked one match a month. So if you go shoot a club match or a major match once a month, you go there, you get your skills tested, then that's enough time. You can kind of like look at that, analyze that match really carefully, come up with a plan. What do you want to work on? You have a few weeks to implement that plan, and then you have a little bit of time to prepare for the next thing, which is the next match. So that, to me, once a month I like that a lot. That's great, and I would. If I had my pick of it, when the match season's hot and heavy, like one match a month, once every 3 weeks, something like that, even for somebody who's as involved as me, like I think that sounds about right. Like,
how about when somebody first starts out? Do you think they should do more matches than that if they had the freedom to do it, or as long as they were also practicing?
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe you shoot twice as many matches, right? Yeah. Like if you go shoot a club match every couple weeks. And then just to get the flow of how the match works and working on the basic stuff, like being able to run any direction aggressively without getting DQ'd. That's stuff that you got to work on. Just being able to hit stuff and keep the gun full of ammo when it needs to be as you move around the stage, just to be able to work through a stage without having to think about it. Just being able to do it. Yeah. Shooting a little more frequently is a good thing. And then I also think it's good to take an off season, to not do anything for a while. That's also good, because they recharge your batteries. Yeah. What do you think, Hopkins?
I think that's pretty good. I think the definite off season, you have to have that, where you don't even touch a gun or think about it. Get you hungry again. I think having a short one in the middle of the season is good too.
Yeah, I think so. Not a bad thing. Yeah, so what do you think, guys? Anything else to say about this, Gabe? Good conversation?
No, not really. I mean, I wish one match a month is what I always attempt to do. That's about what I have the time available to do. And sometimes I don't make it to that one match a month, so sometimes it's less than that. But one match a month is about what I've been able to do from the beginning, and especially at the beginning, but even now, I kind of, sometimes I really kind of wish I had the freedom of time to just go to every match that I could that was in the area, and then I could be going to 3 or 4, 4 matches a month if I had the freedom of time, and I just don't. But I think it would be really helpful. But what I would not do is want to do lots of matches for in trade for practicing. I mean, I wouldn't want to not practice but go to a bunch of matches. I don't think that would work real well.
Yeah, that seems like that would be really frustrating for you.
I would think. Yeah.
But at the same time, you probably squad with a lot of guys who just do that.
I end up with a kind of a funny squad. I work real hard to bring the Timmy crowd into USPSA, and so I end up with this whole bunch of self-defense guys in my squad. So they actually do a whole lot of they do a lot more shooting outside of USPSA, and then once in a while they go to a USPSA match. But that's that happens. That's been happening more and more lately.
Yeah. All right, Hopkins. Anything else? We wrap this up.
I think we've covered it all.
Yeah, we fucking did. Holy shit. Go practice, guys, if you want to get better. Pretty simple.
Mm-hmm.
The guy writing the email made an astute observation that most USPSA shooters don't do shit. You know? Yeah.
True.
It's so true. He didn't say it like that. He's too professional, but that is the truth. Gabe, thank you for coming on. Do you have your money-making website up yet?
No. You still look for me on Pistol Forum and TPI and Duty Project.
Hopkins is at hopkinsshooting.com, of course. And I'm at bensteger.com. If you have a shooting question you want to send to me, you want to write me a really long email that I read a very small portion of, please do. 10, 12 pages. I will read it all to myself, and then I'll read the relevant portions on the air. So send me your questions. I'd love to hear from you, and we'll be sure to talk about it. Yeah, thank you, Gabe.
Thank you very much for having me on.